I have brought peace, freedom, justice, and security to my new empire.
Your new empire,
Don't make me kill you.
Anakin, my allegiance to the Republic, to democracy.
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
I will do what I must. I don't know, something like that.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
That was it.
Oh, boy,
Welcome
there we go.
back to the Star Wars Guys.
Hey, it's old Hayden
podcast.
I
Christensen.
thought we were morphing into old.
I was
Hayden
gonna
there
do.
for a second there.
We were gonna
No,
get to.
we're
We were gonna
it.
get to the very end.
Hey.
It was gonna be. You will try, and I was gonna go. You will try, and I'm just happy. What's up, Star Wars?
What's up, Star
It's
Wars?
Old Hayden Christensen. It's great to be. Here at Celebration. Months ago.
Months ago.
That's it.
I wasn't
Yep.
sure how far we were going with the quote. So.
Oh, apparently we're going
Well,
back a
not
long
far
time.
enough.
ago. Before
Welcome
the dark
back
times.
to the Star Wars Guys podcast. We were off last week, so it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's been
Whoa.
a bit since we recorded, but
Sorry about that.
we're excited to
Tons
be
of
back.
emails, tons of messages asking, "What happened? Where were you?"
What happened?
Where are you guys?
Where were you?
Well, here
Listen,
we
we
are.
took a trip to a galaxy far, far away.
Thankfully, our fans rallied and they said, "Come back, come back, come back,
Yeah.
come
Yeah,
back."
yeah,
And then we came back and they're like, actually,
Go away.
go away,
Go
go
away.
away.
yeah.
Yeah.
But no, we're gonna dive into it. We are Mike. Thought of a good topic this week, and
We are Mike. Thought of a good topic
how-
this week.
the new Star Wars, aka some of us may refer to it as Disney era, but the new Star Wars actually enhances the old Star Wars. The originals could even relate to the prequels some, but the Disney versus George Lucas eras, how the new stories, and we're going to be touching on some different things. I actually took notes this week.
You did.
I took
Whoa.
notes. I went through and wrote a couple things down,
I
but
didn't write a thing.
love it.
It's
Some-
all in there.
I
Oh,
actually
yeah.
had
Oh, yeah.
notes and I deleted them.
You did.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I took some just so I could get rid of them. No,
Just a-
Took them and I got.
but yeah, we're going to talk about different moments within the new Star Wars era and how that enhances some characters, further develops some of the things. And when you look back at the original trilogy now, how maybe some of that, your perception maybe changed a little bit, knowing more about that character or that scene or the history behind it.
Do we need to clarify what new and old are? Because for some
Sure,
of us, the prequels are old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some might call them new.
True.
Yeah.
But are we saying
I'd say we can do how additional pieces of Star Wars have added to
enhanced anything that came before? Yeah. Okay.
Like, for
Yeah.
instance, some might say that the prequels gave us, we learned a little bit more about Darth Vader. No, I'm just kidding. This is the whole prequels.
I hear he turned good.
But yeah, so we can go
Yeah.
anywhere. We can
Yeah,
go
yeah,
anywhere.
yeah.
It's doing good. Yeah, we can go anywhere with this. My initial thought when I was just coming up with the topic was thinking even how, like, how the Disney sales stuff, if we divide the lines, maybe it is like,
Even Clone Wars might be
Pre-Disney?
the
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I feel
Clone
like
Wars
that
can go
could-
either way,
because
actually.
it really
True.
enhanced the
Yeah. Clone Wars
Oh,
is
yeah,
fair game
Clone
for
Wars.
sure.
Prequels, yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I like it.
Yeah. Before we dive into it,
Whoa.
I do
whoa.
want to shout out one thing.
I'm kind of cold, by the way.
It's cold.
It's a little chilly.
It is. He's a little chilly. We can pass it around.
Chilly.
Shout out to two companies, actually, Legion Sabers and Sackcloth and Ashes, for the amazing Star Wars licensed
Yeah, that's pretty
blanket we
sweet.
got here. It's the Twin Suns.
It's very
It's
cool.
the Twin Suns.
Very understated. Feels like looks
Yeah.
like Tatooine's
I'll hold it up, but you guys keep going.
comfortable. Yeah.
I love the tattooing, the colors.
Oh, I thought
'cause
it was
that
gonna.
is-
When he says, I thought it was gonna be like it's like a very subtle, cool,
Yes.
artistic design. Tatooine
Oh, yeah,
Twin
that's-
Suns.
Oh, that's
Looks
like I'm going nowhere. I'm never getting out of here. Look, it's only one more season. Oh gosh, I love. I
Oh,
love.
that's
That's the
great.
scene I've probably gone back to the most of any scene in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think.
Here's the
it's
thing
just-
about it. One,
love
I
it.
can
It's
hear the
perfection.
music, even though it
it lives
it's verbal.
there.
I can
always
hear it just by
lives
looking
there.
at this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But best part about this too,
Ooh,
it's big.
It's not. Yeah.
It actually fits.
Mhm.
You know,
made of pure Beskar.
it is
No,
pure
the-
Beskar.
the
That
ruffles-
So
folds.
comfy.
The roughest blanket ever is not made of
But
pure
no,
Beskar.
it's great. It's such a great blanket,
It's awesome.
and they got a really cool thing going. Every purchase of a blanket that you buy from Sackcloth and Ashes, they actually send an extra one to a homeless shelter near you, so your
awesome.
local
That's
homeless
awesome.
shelter. So it's great way to give back, and also treat yourself to a nice Star Wars licensed blanket.
It's
So
awesome.
So be comfy.
Lucasfilm
Check
teamed
them
up
out
with
and get
them.
comfy.
Get
Yeah.
comfy.
I like it.
Settle in.
Yeah. And
That's
Legion
really cool.
Sabers, who has sent in some sabers on the way too, was nice enough to partner with them and send this our
We
way.
can never
So-
get enough sabers.
Oh yeah.
They're one day we'll just show up and we're just holding all of them.
You haven't seen what I put up at the
Sabers.
house, have you?
No.
I got them all mounted on the wall. You haven't seen it either.
I haven't seen it
Here we
either.
go.
Oh.
Have to come and see it.
Yeah.
Might
Got
have
'em,
to
like,
One
mount-
of these
like
days,
five of
you
them
guys are gonna
mounted.
walk in. This whole backdrop's just gonna be lightsabers.
That's awesome.
or they just people show up and one day we're casting from down the hill.
Oh
Yes. Podcast
Out of the
on the
basement.
road
Whoa.
again. Just can't wait to
Different
get
basement.
on the road again. Yeah, right.
That'd be great. We got
I
to.
love it.
Yep.
We got to. Mike, is there a particular one that you wanted to start with?
Yeah, so
There is.
I do want to start with one.
That threw me off.
Huh.
No,
I didn't
no, no.
expect him to have anything ready.
No, remember
since he threw away his notes.
well, that's because I felt like the Nick Noltes. It's just the
Nolties.
spoken.
the Nick Nolts. I call
Are those
him
like
I
the-
call Nick Nolte the Nolts.
That's a good
Is that
example, though.
like the Beliebers?
The
The
Beliebers.
Nolts.
You got the rabid followers. You got the
Yeah.
Nolts.
You got the
Swifties.
Nolts.
But yeah, I have spoken. My notes that I talked about. I felt like my notes were Obi-Wan's fault. They were holding me back, and so I got rid of them.
Good.
And the
Let
first
go.
thing that I thought of, speaking of Obi-Wan, was how upon watching the Obi-Wan series, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, I will never view. There's a number of moments, but especially after seeing the interaction, I grew up, as all three of us did, not knowing the extent of there being any additional interactions. Especially after the prequels, we kind of thought that the last time that Anakin / Vader saw Obi-Wan was on the side of the mountain when he
Yeah.
was being, he's popping
Mustafar.
like popcorn. He was
Yeah.
just burning up.
That was rough.
And
Yeah,
that's when
yeah.
Obi-Wan goes, "Oh, Anakin, oh." And he just walks away. But it always made so much sense with the way the original was written. And George didn't know exactly how this series would come, but when he says, feeling I haven't felt since, and it was like he says since, and then
Right.
later they write in what happens in the prequels,
Yeah.
but it never said, "Oh, here's the moment that he last." And in the original trilogy, especially in Return of the Jedi, when we had the Obi-Wan once thought as you did, we never had that moment of feeling like, is he gone? Is he not gone? Is Obi-Wan trying to pull him back in to the light? And this series, especially when you get the final, you didn't kill, like the whole when his voice is going back and forth.
kill Anakin Skywalker.
And that's when he's like, I'm sorry, Anakin, for everything,
For
for
all
all of it.
For all of it.
And
all
then
of
he talks, they have their conversation, and then he says, well, then my friend is truly dead or truly gone, which is a play, obviously, on and then my father's is
Right.
truly dead.
Goodbye, Duh.
But- Yeah, goodbye, Darth.
Right.
Like that whole thing,
That
that
whole
scene, but that
scene.
whole series, there's a number of moments. Leia, the scene of Vader fighting old Ben Kenobi, and Ben looks and he sees Luke and Leia now as, upper teens / adults, and he sees them and they're there with Han Solo, which he doesn't have a connection to Han yet, but he sees them and they're, he's going to finally, he realizes this is the time. My fight's over. It's their fight now.
Mhm.
But he kind of gives this like smirk and he waits. Now, when I watch that, I don't think just he's looking at Luke. He's looking at Leia too.
Mhm.
He has much more
Yeah.
he actually has much more of a relationship with Leia.
Yeah.
And seeing that they're both there together now and have found each other and they don't know the extent of their connection, brother and sister, spoiler alert.
Mhm.
But he knows, okay, they're together. They're set up. This is the time. The best thing I can do
I've
is
trained
buy
them,
him
I've
some
done what I
time,
can.
get out of there,
Yeah.
and I'll never look at that the same way again because of what we got. And yes, there are budget restrictions and things that I'm like, man, that didn't probably play as well as they thought it would in certain moments. I adore that series, and it's because of what it makes me feel. Because of what it makes me feel and the way it enriches.
Yeah.
An already, enriches an already very rich original
Yeah, I mean
story.
it's part of the saga now.
Yeah.
Like that.
So again,
that
I know I went
series.
long on the first one, but any thoughts on the one I gave there? As far as are there any moments from that connection of the Obi-Wan series that I didn't touch on that you guys?
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
they
I
like?
think you mentioned Leia, even just Leia's message to Obi-Wan, "You're my only help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope."
Yeah.
Like that, and it's not just, Bail telling her to, "Hey, Obi-Wan's our only hope."
Yep.
And she's replying, she is the one that has a connection with him too. So when she's saying it, it's not just words that she was told, it's her actually knowing and believing that too, and knowing who Obi-Wan is.
That's right.
And that connection that I had, recognizing he is our only hope, not just, Bail Organa or someone telling her to try and get these plans to Obi-Wan and her not knowing even who that is.
Yeah.
It just adds so much more to that iconic scene too. But
There is a couple from that show. That's one. I do think it was cool when they're tracking the ship when she's young
Yeah.
yeah,
and they escape. They're tracking us. It's the only explanation for the ease of our escape.
yeah,
So
She
she's
knows.
been through that before,
She's
and we
been through
saw that
exactly.
play out. I do think we could clarify. Some would call retconning, maybe
Yeah.
to a degree. And there are some things about episode 4 that don't necessarily fit
Mhm.
with this.
Yeah.
But I do love the fact that we now have this other relationship.
Yeah.
that- such a great
Yes.
surprise. And the other thing I think is cool is Leia differentiating between Ben and
Yeah,
Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
yeah.
She's with this.
Ben
she's-
Kenobi.
That's right, Ben Kenobi and Obi-Wan, and her putting the connection together early that you're a
Mhm.
Jedi.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you're a Jedi. That she didn't
Yeah.
know, right? Ben is the guy she was with, and now Obi-Wan's a different guy.
Yeah.
So when old Leia calls for Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's kind of like it's trying to awaken the hero,
Yeah.
Yeah,
reminding him of the hero he was, not
You served my father
the
in the Clone
old
Wars.
man.
Yeah.
the hero who's
Mhm.
Obi-Wan, which
Yeah.
is, and that kind of sparks something, I think.
yeah. I think it
Later.
also because after watching the Kenobi series, shortly after I went and rewatched A New Hope and Empire, and even just the character of Leia and her like fearlessness to Vader and to Tarkin.
Mm-hmm.
Now I even look at that as like more like it's enhanced. I get more out of it
Yeah.
now, knowing like this is how she's kind of grown up. Seeing her as a little
Mhm.
kid, I was a little defiant and running off.
She not only
and-
Yeah.
stood up to Vader and Tarkin, she stood up first to flee.
Flee.
yeah,
Right.
to flee.
You're
And
not gonna.
the Red Hot Chili Pepper, it was due. Let's just put it that
That's
way.
true.
Yeah.
It
That's
was
true.
due.
It's about time somebody
Somebody.
ran
But
those guys into
it's-
some branches. Yeah.
It's interesting because she's not. It's not just like her being thrown into this because of who she is and her relation to Anakin, and then at like Luke at age 17, 18, he actually starts finding out about what's going on.
Yeah.
This is literally her being in the fight since her earliest memories.
That's
Like,
right.
She has been in this political battle basically
Mhm.
from day one.
Yeah.
And so seeing that all play out, it just adds so much more to
Love it.
to her.
How about the
character. I
fact
love it.
that she is the one who brings out, like that she is the one who wakes him up?
Yeah.
Like it's funny because we've talked about it. Not to spend too long on the Kenobi series, but we talked about it. All our predictions.
Yeah, I'm
none
gonna
of us
pull up some other
predicted
ones.
going into it that, this show is going to focus on young
Yeah.
Leia. We said
The
she'll
clip
probably
we
make
got
an
of Luke was
appearance.
almost the whole thing.
That was.
I know.
What?
And we didn't even think about
Wait a second.
what a brilliant way to. And I know some people thought that maybe there was more Leia than they thought there would be. Whatever, I get that. But like, what a brilliant way to wake him up is that he's spending time with the brother of the person he's protecting, and obviously she's part of his protection plan as
Mhm.
well. Even though she's living with Bail. Bail is like, she's just as important as he is,
Right.
And like this whole thing it just felt like that was even due justice for Leia going all
It
the way
was.
back to
Yeah.
Yeah.
just the originals as well.
That was
Just
great.
Yeah.
loved it.
It was awesome.
Loved it.
Yeah. No, I've got a handful here that
Yeah,
I
we can
definitely
go quicker
want
on
to
some of
get to.
these.
One of my favorites, I think, is, and this kind of now has been tied to. It's kind of what you said, defining new versus
Mhm.
the old, but it's kind of a blend of both, and how it's kind of enhanced the character. But Maul,
Mhm.
Maul, going back to Phantom Menace, but then with George Lucas creating the Clone Wars and bringing Maul back, but even post George Lucas, them Filoni now rolling with that character through
Yeah.
the duration of Clone Wars and
Mhm.
onto Rebels. I just love what they. I mean, Maul became this character that obviously looked scary on screen, was a cool character, but didn't have a lot of background
Mhm.
to becoming one of my favorite stories, like
Yeah.
character arcs
For sure.
for just everything you went through. It's basically I look at kind of he and even Ventress in a way as kind of like the opposite side of a coin of Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the dark side versus the
Yeah.
light side version of things. The outcast, not really with the Sith anymore,
Mm-hmm.
doing its own thing, but still has his mission. And then building off of that with the new Star Wars, getting the entire like idea of Crimson Dawn. And I'm sure we're going to get more stories told on that eventually. We've got some comics and stuff, but
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get more Crimson Dawn in due time on screen. But I love all of that.
I
I love
agree.
all of that. And it's definitely added so much more because now I go back and watch Phantom Menace. And when I see Darth Maul, one, you know he didn't die.
Mhm.
But it's not just knowing he didn't die, but then also rethinking like everything he's like, this is the beginning.
Yeah.
Like it originally it was the end of his character.
Right.
But now I look at it as him falling down that shaft, and you're like, this is literally the beginning of his character.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like I see it in a whole different light of all the
You want
great story to become. Obviously tragic for him, but great story to be told out of his
Absolutely.
character after.
You
that.
want to go into that moment, world between worlds, and whisper in Obi-Wan's ear and go, stab him forward. You
Yeah.
cut him in half. He's
That
gonna
doesn't
be.
work.
He's
You
gonna
gotta
be
go
fine.
in. Puncture.
Stab him forward.
No slicing.
Years
Puncture.
from now, the stab. If you're an Inquisitor, that stab's not gonna do much to you. But right now, we
Yeah,
just
right.
worked. This is a moment where it
You're
just
an
got you,
Inquisitor.
Master. Boom.
Worked
Get him
on
with the stab.
Qui-Gon.
You went too aggressive.
They say puncture wounds are the worst.
Yeah.
See, that's it.
If you get poked in the thumb, it's way worse than having your thumb cut off. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well-
Trust me, I've been there. I know what I'm talking about.
You've had both.
Hey,
I've been there.
You're like, why do you think I'm holding the mic with this one? You got
You're
four
right.
and just nothing left.
jab,
That's
jab,
it.
at
Jab
him,
him,
poke
jab
at
him, jab
poke
him.
at him.
That's why if you listen to it on high volume, you hear on the way down, you hear Maul going, yes! And he's just chuckling.
He's
lying. I
Revenge
love spider legs, spider
awesome.
legs. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Revenge
but
does
that's great.
wonders for the will to live.
Yes.
you think?
No, I love it.
But no, yeah, I mean, I love Maul's character in general. What we got,
Yeah.
addition
Oh,
to that,
Maul is-
absolutely enhanced the original idea
Yeah.
that they had in store
For
him.
sure.
Absolutely. And for
Absolutely.
some people, myself included, that's some of my favorite stuff about Clone Wars
Mhm.
and
Oh, yeah.
Rebels both. Is the Maul character arc, which then also leads us to more of the Mandalorian lore.
Yeah.
All of that comes from the newer Star Wars,
Yeah.
elaborate,
So good.
expanding on these characters. Now that started with the help of George Lucas, which was a great idea, but
Right.
obviously we got even more when we got Rebels with this
Right.
character too.
Definitely.
In some ways, a lot of the new stuff, that's kind of what it's doing. I mean, you can think about, if we think about Tales of the Jedi, that's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you think about
You're
Du-
right. It's
Dooku,
enhancing these stories,
it's
filling
giving
the gaps.
us little clips like, oh, Dooku.
I mean, what's
the
Rogue One?
motivation and the reason.
Yeah.
for Rogue One.
What's
Rogue
Rogue One?
One?
What's
Right.
Andor is now to Rogue One?
Oh, that was.
Andor is
It's hard to
providing
pick
Rogue
one of
One
mine.
is
It's hard to pick a
providing to-
favorite.
You mentioned Dooku. That was one of mine because I kind of want to jump in that too. That was one I had on here. Was now when I watch Phantom Menace, I'm also thinking, and even Qui-Gon's death. Dooku's still he's at the temple.
Mhm.
Like it's kind of
Yes.
weird thinking that he's
I
still.
love
right.
learning the timeline of that.
He is still he's still with the Jedi. He's still a part of the Order at this time.
Right.
And that actually is part of what, from a Sith's perspective, Kylo Ren perspective,
Mhm.
freed Dooku to now no longer be attached to the Jedi
Yeah.
Order when Qui-Gon was kind of gone. That was kind of the guy that was holding him there, basically.
Yeah.
With him passing, now he kind of see he was pulled a little easier to the dark side. But Tales of the Jedi, exactly, filling those gaps and enhancing the story and the characters in
yeah.
that way.
We also found out why there's no Yaddle later on.
Yeah, I know.
And who knows what the council knows? Maybe they thought she went out to get some milk and just never
came back.
hit the open road and
That
said, nope,
Yaddle.
we're going. She's out of
Yeah.
here.
Can't ever count on her.
But Yeah, no, Tales of the Jedi does a lot of that.
It really
A lot
does.
of not just like kind of filling in the gaps, but just making me. This is kind of when I was thinking about this podcast episode in general of like, what are moments or what are even full movies now that I'm like, wow, in a good way, I don't look at this scene the same way. I think of this now because of that, or I think of this. And what's great is with all the different Disney Plus shows and the new films, there's one down the line. There's a lot of different ones. I mean, now I'm thinking today, Uncle, you send to Boba Fett Day.
Yeah.
Today was
Yeah.
the anniversary or how many years since
1978.
78.
Yep.
The prototype kind of white.
Prototype white Boba Fett was created.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should say
Wait a second.
we should say white suit Boba Fett.
White.
Hey,
yeah, right.
wait a second.
White
White
Boba
suit.
Fett was created.
This
Yeah,
guy?
man.
Prototype.
The white
There
suit.
he is.
Little
There he
Funko.
is.
That's it. So when I think of Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett, I look at Tusken Raiders differently
Yes.
based on that show. Now,
for sure.
I think the show did a good job because
Absolutely.
I think they would have gone maybe too far or wouldn't have maybe fit if they didn't kind of differentiate that. Like the Tusken Raiders said, yeah, some of us are a little more brutal. Some
Yeah.
of us, because
yeah.
I can understand how Anakin's upset. Like Anakin's thinking, like, you did this to my
You
mother. I don't
enslaved my
think,
mother and
I
kidnapped
don't
her."
want to now pretend like you were just
You were good.
misunderstood. Like
Yeah.
you brutalized
Right.
my family, and then I slaughtered all the women and the children too.
Like animals. I slaughter them like animals.
I hate them.
I hate them. It's okay.
She goes, "Oh, Anakin, do you want to get married?"
Oh, Anakin, we all have bad days.
Yeah, Pat,
oh,
I
another
didn't see it
bad day
coming.
at the office. Did I ever tell you about how Jar Jar's running things over at the Senate?
Pat, I
Don't
didn't
get
see
me
any of
started.
that coming. Didn't see
See,
it.
I-
Completely blindsided.
No red flags.
None.
None.
She thought in my mind, 20 minutes from now, I'm gonna marry you.
Now, I'm gonna
You
marry you.
rascal.
Marry you.
You
Let us fight a
dark-sided.
couple of
You dark-sided
let us
rascal.
fight a couple of monsters out in the Coliseum.
Anakin, you should have told me. I would have helped.
We have a nice couple of Obi-Wan puns and a few monsters in the Coliseum, and you meet me right back here, mister, because we're getting married. She seems to be on top of things. No, there's-
Probably.
But I love what they did with the Tusken Raiders and what
I
they mean
agree,
to
yeah, it was
Boba,
cool.
but also I love getting to the culture, getting to see I mean the train sequence is still one of my favorite of
awesome.
any of the Disney Plus shows. And then like a bantha, and he's going through the whole thing of teaching him how to fight and everything. I love it. Tuskens,
Yeah.
I'll look at them differently. Now you still have the ones that are little goobers that just shoot at random people that are
The little kids pod racing.
the pod racers, just
Annie.
woo, and then there's just we're gonna kill this guy. But
take the lead.
Or just finding Luke out on them, just climbing a mountain, just
Yeah.
taking him out.
that's it, yeah.
Seeing people.
See
I can see one of them now.
Yeah,
I'm done for.
but
That's
What kind
the
of talk
over.
is that?
That's when some of the over dramatic
Right.
3POs at his best.
Leave me.
I'm done for. What
I do
kind of
like
talk
it
is
though
that?
because, like you said, I mean, it does. They
Love it.
did a good job of differentiating the groups, but it definitely makes you look at those characters differently and knowing
They
that
taught
there are
Boba.
good groups out there, and they taught Boba, and it actually
Boba's
it's
stronger
part of
together.
What helped him.
The importance
Kinda,
of a tribe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boba's always been a loner.
Which, if you think
That's
about
right.
it, is even though he's not, Mandalorian, is essentially the Mandalorian way as
That's
well.
right.
So it's not that far off of
It's
the
true.
traditional view of Boba Fett as
No.
far as the lore of Mandalore
Mhm.
and the family aspect of basically of the creed.
Mhm.
But
Definitely.
yeah.
You got one? One ready to go?
Yeah, well, one of them was the just Mandalorian backstory. Obviously, we have the Mandalorian show, so we've gotten so much more content around the history of Mandalore, their creed, those characters, what that all means. But even just dating back to thinking all that came from just Boba Fett's armor and how cool it was, but how they're able to take that and grow upon so much, and of what some are their favorite characters, like
Mm-hmm.
not just bounty hunters, but now we've gotten so much more around it, and like the The Sand People, there's some good ones and there's some bad ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just complete. Like you can't see Mandalorian armor or different Mandalorians now without
Mhm.
thinking of either the show, but also it always, no matter what they do with Boba Fett's character, it's always going to be like the first thing I think of whenever I see the Mandalorian armor, even if it's not his. If it's some, I'm thinking, man, it's Boba Fett. Boba
I
Fett.
know.
Love it.
Absolutely.
So good.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
one for me, which I think has been great. For the Andor series. So we talk about Rogue One, of course, huge. Just makes that whole episode 4 like, how did it happen? All that
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh yeah.
But the one character I think Andor has really brought to life is Mon Mothma.
Yes. So much. So.
Like, who
Awesome
was she? What's
character.
her story? The motivation.
yeah, and there's still more where I'm
working
like, how did she get from here to
between
here?
the politics and
Yeah.
I think it's been fascinating to see with and how that's going to play out.
And yeah, no, I exactly what you're saying, and it's not as almost clean as
No.
you think it'd be.
Oh, it's
like
way uglier.
you see Mon Mothma and how her role in the
Yeah.
original and stuff. You're like, oh, she was this politician who played the game, but
Mhm.
obviously had her agenda to help the rebels and take down the
Yeah,
empire.
and at one point she just decided I'm going to
She's
go
like,
with
I'm
those
gonna-
people.
No, this is her.
No.
It's showing her
Just give
Yeah.
up everything.
just
Also
not
the
just
risk
struggle
involved,
to
yeah.
make, not just struggle with that and just the nature of fighting the empire, but also just the morality of it.
Yeah.
It's a lot deeper than that. It's showing.
Yeah, what
like
kind of
Luthen
actions
and
are
these characters are
justifiable?
Like, yeah, what how much are you willing to do, and at what point is too far? At what point's not? Will we see her cross a lot of these? I mean, we saw Luthen cross some lines,
Mhm.
maybe, but how much of that are we going to see from her, and how are we with season 2? Are we going to see her change from where we left off with season 1 to becoming the Mon Mothma that we then see fully on board with the Rebel Alliance?
Right.
Yeah, Luthen with the I don't know the exact quote. I don't remember the dialogue exactly, but basically his like using the tactics of
Tools.
the tools of my enemies to
enemy.
defeat them,
Mhm.
and like in the fact that
What have I sacrificed? Everything.
like differentiating, and that's
Everything.
what Mon Mothma struggles with. That's what even we find out because we didn't know. Just because I don't know if I don't know if Saw Gerrera does struggle with it. Because Saw seems like he should struggle with it a little more sometimes.
Yeah.
Although in I
he
will say
does
in
question
Andor,
Luthen, though.
he questions Luthen and thinks, is Luthen going
I think
too
it's
far?
part of what starts pushing him to realize maybe we need to go further.
But Luthen had that
Yeah.
good conversation with the spy on the bridge when they're talking, and that's when you first
that
get anything from
that's
Luthen
one of
of
my
like
favorite quotes.
Luthen feeling tormented. Basically, like, yeah, we're doing this, and yes, this seems brutal, and absolutely, I do realize that we're fighting for a future I'll never see. Like that's what
I'll never see the sun rise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yes.
I always
That's what-
love
yeah.
the debate of. I mean, a lot of the stuff obviously plays on just what real life revolution is like, especially like if you just go back to like colonial revolution or anything like that. Like, it's not like, all right, guys, we finally tallied up. I think we can take them. Like, there's this, then there's this,
Yeah.
then there's well, to take this advantage, we did something that normally would feel maybe morally, I'm not sure where. I mean, not to get into too real world stuff, but one of the biggest movies that's coming out is Oppenheimer, and that's
Mhm.
going to have some big
Man.
takes on that
Very.
as well.
Yep.
Of just what is too far, what's not too far, but I love when we're talking Star Wars and of course Mon Mothma's character. I thought that when I see her now in A New Hope, it is different. Even when I see her in her short appearance in the prequels as well, thinking just, oh man, I had no idea what your character went through before this, and now I do. I just love looking at characters that, oh, I didn't know you went through this, or that it was this difficult to get to this moment. It just makes her commanding the room and everyone listening to her, not just like, oh, she's just a senator who's talking to everyone. It's like, no, this is someone who's been in the trenches.
That's right.
She's risked as much as any of us.
Mhm.
She's the one that if she had been caught would.
We're gonna watch her lose everything.
Yeah,
It's- I mean,
yeah,
it's
we're
coming.
gonna watch
Yeah.
it. Yeah, with her deadbeat of a husband and all that
Oh,
stuff too.
man.
Is just, I can't wait for season 2.
I
of
know.
Andor.
I know.
Made me excited to rewatch it. Now.
Yeah, I think it's my favorite.
It's
Star
it's
Wars
just
show.
so.
It's just.
I was
so
trying to
well-
think
it's
when
just
we were
so
talking
well
about Mon
done. All
Mothma.
around, it's just so well done.
I was thinking of the different characters when we were saying Mon Mothma, and I was thinking, oh, she might be my favorite character of Andor, and then I thought, but man, Cassian was a great character. Man,
Luthen's great.
Kino Lord
Man,
was a
Kino
great
Lord.
character. Man, Luthen was a great character.
Mhm.
Saw's stuff was great. Bix was great. Like there's all these
Dedra.
There's-
Marva.
Yeah,
What a
oh,
great-
yeah,
Marva, Dedra,
Marva.
all Marva having her rally the fight the Empire speech
We got
and
we
everything.
got the
You're
little
like, oh my
little
gosh.
mealy mouth cereal Karn like that.
Oh
Just
my-
Cyril Karn
It just
is-
feels
Everything
like
is so
that
feels
Andor is
Empire.
just so well done.
I need
It's
to
just- it's
rewatch
just
the
a
show
great-
now.
Andor's just so well done.
awesome.
It's
I'm
really
so
good.
excited for season 2.
So good.
Love it.
But yeah, I love
Oh,
it. I love
man.
the context of this, the additional context. I have one real quick because I think Uncle's up next, but this is a quick one.
Yeah.
This is not even real canon, I would say, anymore. But it added.
Oh, why are we talking
well,
about it?
because here's what I'm saying.
Just
technically.
kidding.
From the
Go for it.
Not
Darth
canon.
Plagueis book,
Go for it.
the Darth Plagueis book,
Yeah.
Canon adjacent.
canon adjacent, as we like to say here.
I love that.
This
love Canada adjacent. That's my
Canada adjacent.
favorite.
I
Um,
love it. That's why I say it.
it is it has not been disproven. It is not necessarily it's canon adjacent. I love in Plagueis the timeline is revealed of Palpatine working with Plagueis and when these events take place, and it's way sooner, way more recent
Closer. Yeah.
than
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought. And what it adds additional context to, or I will never watch Phantom Menace the same again, because he takes on Maul, and like this planet during Phantom Menace, Plagueis is alive. That's what's crazy. Because when you hear it in Revenge of the Sith, you're thinking, "Oh, this must be like 30 years ago." Like,
Yeah.
because it's an old man we're talking to.
No, it took him a long time
Took
to
him a
teach
long
him everything he knew.
Everything he knew, and ironic.
What'd you
Gee.
learn?
I just killed him yesterday.
He's dead
No.
now.
But no, so it's a thing that now when I watch Phantom Menace, I watch all the events, but I also think, even though it's not on screen, I think, oh, and also in this dark side, cave, Plagueis is over there hooked up to machines trying to preserve and become immortal. Like literally, there's like all these dark science,
Yeah.
like, secrets of the Sith, cloning, all
Rise
that
of
stuff is actually
Skywalker.
going on that leads to what happens in Rise of Skywalker, and the events of Rise of Skywalker are that book adds some context, even though it's canon.
It makes the somehow Palpatine return not as like out of the blue, knowing that literally since Phantom
Yeah,
Menace,
I mean,
he's already been working with Plagueis on those machines.
that's what's funny is I always go kind of back and forth on somehow Palpatine returned, because in the theater, as far as just like if I like it or not, like that choice of the phrase. And what's funny is it very much fits Poe and what they're saying, but also I feel like it's sometimes negatively used from an audience standpoint. Like they were like, oh, I guess we'll never know. Well, Poe didn't sit in on the Anakin Palpatine opera
Yeah,
conversation
he didn't know.
that we did. So we're supposed to already see that those pieces have been laid out.
Right.
From,
We're supposed to be the
Palpatine
ones
saying,
putting the
oh,
pieces
this is,
together.
and,
Yeah.
and he secrets, and he's talking about how he was really close to discovering the secret, and he taught him everything he knew.
but if
and
you're
all this
Poe,
stuff.
yeah, that's how else do you put it?
Right.
Yeah,
Somehow you
Poe's,
return. I have no idea.
Poe's never seen Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's
I
a good
do.
point.
I do think that a lot of people, and even there's times when I'm like, man, I wish I would have gotten a little more on screen. Now we've read some books that have gone into a little bit more
Yeah.
of Shadow of the Sith and things that actually happened. But
Yeah.
but that's one of those
Yeah.
that I think is sometimes maybe misunderstood, or just because the person doesn't understand doesn't mean that we were supposed to be completely in the dark, because we've seen stuff that the
Yeah.
character hasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my soapbox.
I like your soapbox.
Who has boxes of soap?
I don't know.
And who
That's
stands
It's
on
a
them?
thing.
It's
I know.
thing.
The biggest thing.
We should
I
have
have
an
an
actual
important thing to
soapbox
say.
so we can
I'm gonna
stand on. The Last Jedi is the best movie.
I
Get
just
off your
wanna-
soapbox.
I want to see
Stand
a
on
little
it.
box. I want someone like whether it's like a Family Guy style of like an animated little clip.
Yeah.
Someone someone taking out their box of soap and go, oh, and they're taking that little soap. And like, I just thought of something. They put it on the floor and then they stand and
Look at
crush
it,
it.
stand
and
on that.
Oh, he's standing on his guy. This guy's on his soapbox. And like,
He must
the
be
thing is,
serious.
It is a little 3-inch.
I think it was big in the past.
No,
People
yeah.
used big bars of soap back then.
It's the big,
Like the Fred Flintstone bars of soap.
No, that's different. Yeah.
Well,
That's yeah. If your dinosaur is also your shower head, you can stand on
Yeah.
a soapbox all you
Okay,
Yeah.
want.
the Flintstones that's a whole nother. That's a conundrum. Like they have telephones. but they're shaped like shells. Like, how can you have a telephone?
How do we have this technology?
You're calling people on
Yeah.
a shell. How can that even work?
But we don't have
Okay.
engines. We
Oh,
don't have.
okay.
We have feet. That's how our cars. They were feet. We
But
don't
you
have a shower
car-
head.
But you have cars.
But you have
So
cars.
close.
You're so close.
They figured out the telephone,
They got the telephone
but
down.
not the shower head.
It's a shell. Well,
Yeah.
How does that work?
Not the shower head, but yeah,
Brilliant.
It's true.
So
It's
great.
true.
Okay, how about this one? What Grogu has brought to
Ooh,
Yes.
I like
the
it.
original or the prequels. The whole thing about being in the temple when they come to kill all
Yeah.
the younglings. That whole connection there and him being through all of this stuff has been
Yeah.
Yeah,
kind of shifted the way we think. Like, wait, he was there all the time? It's pretty.
he was there, and Keller and
Pretty
Beck got
cool.
him out of there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
No,
think
that is-
it's funny you
that's a
said
good
that
one.
because I put that down too in a sense that it's enhanced the species of the
Yeah.
Yoda species
Yeah.
because Yoda was already mysterious and intentionally an unnamed species.
Right.
George kind of wanted there to be a mystery element and
Mhm.
not give you the answers to everything, and Disney's held true to that for that species. They don't intend. As far as I know, I think Filoni and them came out saying we have
Think
no
he did,
intention
yeah.
of giving the answer of that. We want it to remain that
Come on.
way.
Come on.
And I think that's like
Come on.
something that was near and dear to George's heart.
Right.
to
not-
keep that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Because
saw
it
an
adds,
interview.
it
I
adds
saw an
the
old
magic
interview of his
to
that
the
popped up. Yeah.
yeah.
I saw a clip recently of an old interview of George saying like, "No, that's something like we don't need to know more about."
Yeah.
Like it was just that
It adds to
this
the
is
mystery of
this
the
is a mythical
galaxy.
thing, and he didn't want to over-explain it.
It kind of
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
him more when you define it. It kind of I don't know. It's part of what makes him almost viewed as that much higher of a
Mm-hmm.
Jedi and stuff. When there's not a lot of them, you don't know as much about them.
Mhm.
But adding Grogu to that and still not knowing those answers almost makes it even more like because what did it do when we all saw Grogu? We're like, what?
Is it? Yeah, right.
Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
What does this mean? There's how many more of them
Mhm.
are out there? Like
Mhm.
it adds so much more, I guess, wonder to the universe and that species specifically
Yeah.
about what is truly out there. Where do they come from? It just adds so much. I don't know. I
It
think
is true.
It
Just
adds, it adds more. It basically took what George wanted with Yoda and just added so much more to it. And I guess, as our title says, enhances that
Mhm.
aspect of the original
Yeah.
because it makes you wonder if there's another one. How is it that there's this powerful?
Yeah.
There are they all Force users? Like what?
Mhm.
What does it mean?
That's true.
All right.
Just the
It's the only three we've ever seen are all Force users.
Yeah.
just the
And-
decision
and
to
powerful.
have it be
Mhm.
just the decision to have Grogu be that species made it so powerful. I was just thinking if we were as a audience watching and the thing opened and it was like a little human child, we would just be like, "Oh, who is that?" But immediately when we saw the ears, we went, "What?" Like it was just
Like
even
we
if
assumed it
different-
was a jet. We assumed
even if
it
it was an
Force
unknown
user.
simple.
alien we've
It's
never
simple.
seen.
Right.
The fact that it's a connection to Yoda, like as far as
It's
the
just- yeah.
species, we immediately then go, "Oh, it's got to be a Force user." 'Cause,
Right.
Obviously, and then the next episode we find out he is a Force
Yeah.
He is.
user. No, that's
Which of course.
that's a really good one.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
But you're right too, as far as the story as well, not
Yeah.
just like our
a character.
speculation and wonder behind the
Yeah.
species, but the actual character of him now dating back to the original or the prequels.
It's one of
and
the things
Jedi
I like-
Temple,
yeah.
and you're like,
Mhm.
oh, man.
When you mention Plagueis, like, oh wait, I love it when you go, oh wait, in this time they are there.
Yeah.
yeah.
They're out there somewhere.
And that's part of the stuff
kinda-
that
that's the stuff I like.
I love. Like, I don't necessarily need to be, for instance, I don't need to go watch the prequels and see Grogu's like pod floating in the background as like a cameo and be like, oh, see, he was
See,
there.
he was
He
there.
was there all along.
Don't
I
need
don't need
that.
that. Just knowing that he was like,
Yeah.
it's almost more.
It's a
It's almost
different-
cooler knowing
Yeah.
like not seeing it on the screen originally,
Right.
and then getting more information on the story and thinking he was there when this was happening.
Mhm.
He lived through that. How would he get out?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was kind of all of our questions in the first season and second season. So I like when they do that stuff. It's not necessarily cameos of things that we saw originally, but adding to the wow, this was there. Like for instance, Dooku, like he was still around when Qui-Gon
Right.
died. Like
Right.
it just adds so much more to it.
Yeah. I love it. I've got one, and I wonder what our take is on this one. Are there any before I say this? Are there any things? Let's get this out correctly.
Think it through.
Are there any things that have been created, added in the new Star Wars that you think makes you think about an old moment or an old movie differently, but you're not sure if you like it or not? Or something that you're like, oh man, I know that this is now supposed to change my view of this moment or this fight or this, but I don't know if it's sunk in yet. And so here's my example, and we can see if we have any more. I'm not saying this is negative. I wonder how we feel about this. The fact that Palpatine returns in in Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Do we feel any differently watching the big battle in Return of the Jedi and watching him go over the edge? Even though, like we've said, as a kid, I always thought, he probably didn't. But obviously, the way it was originally written in the film was that was even if we thought it was kind of a weak way to go out, that was supposed to be
That was it.
That was the big defeat of the Empire, the defeat of Palpatine. Do we feel any certain ways, like when we watch that? Do we feel differently now, knowing, well, he's defeated, but he's gonna come back? So the reason I bring this up is I think my personal feelings are I'm not sure if I feel different about it yet because I don't know. Like I've watched it and thought of it one way so long.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a major moment in Star Wars, and that this is the most recent Star Wars movie in Rise of Skywalker. That I don't know if, like, obviously I've connected the two, but I'm not sure if it's sunk in yet when I'm watching that. But that also, I don't think it's necessarily, that cheapens this or this, that, because in my mind, defeating the biggest evil of all time forever is a massive victory. Also a massive victory is ridding the galaxy of the biggest evil of all time for 30 years. Like, this is the tyrant who literally we brought down the Empire and we banished him for 30 years. We'll be without him until he, with dark magic and cloning, has some configuration of himself with clones and comes back for a brief while, and then we immediately destroy that. Also, like, he didn't get to do anything really when he came. I mean, I guess technically he did a lot because the First Order, so I'll take that back. That was kind of also a late addition. But, I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Is it one that you think of as being like, I feel differently about the original moment?
We watched Jedi because the 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
We just rewatched it. I don't think it had any impact on it for me.
Yeah.
In fact, I think in some ways it enhances it. Because I was always troubled by. Well, I'm the one who said I didn't love. Like, it doesn't make sense. The most powerful being would fall down a shaft and there would be an explosion, and then that's it.
You're like, we just saw him shooting lightning out of his
didn't
fingers.
feel right.
Yeah.
But then watching later, we see he didn't die. So. And I have this weird theory about being a clone, whatever. But what it also makes me think of is that in that moment, the fear is not the same for him. That's why he can stand there and say, "Good, to strike me down." He doesn't even flinch because he knows there's an avenue. He's got an avenue back.
Yeah.
It actually explains why he's so comfortable with it, because he's not going to die. It's like, I got an avenue back. I got something you don't know about that I can come back from.
Yeah.
So I see that now. Like, that makes total sense. That's why he's so comfortable.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. I don't think it's changed my view of it at all, really, from in Return of the Jedi. Just partly because it is a big time gap. Like, if he just turned up the next day, then it might be like, if we would have just seen one more day of this story, we would have seen him back, but it ended a day early of what we were told.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's
slipped out the back
long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long time later, and it was written in a way that he was basically died, and then these the cloning and stuff is what allowed, and the Sith magic is what really allowed him to come back. So I don't think when I watch that, I kind of agree in the sense that I always thought like, that was kind of weak. I knew the Emperor was like the big bad because Vader bowed to him, but I never saw him originally. Like, I always saw Vader as that.
Me too.
So I never really looked at.
You saw
him
Vader
as,
if he could take him, if he had his mind right, and
if
wanted
Vader
to take
wasn't
him, he could take him.
so manipulated by him, I always saw Vader as the big bad.
Me too.
Like, never Palpatine, even though Vader bowed to him, and he was his master. I never actually saw that, and part of the reason is because of how it ended for him.
Yeah.
I thought, he was just a master manipulator, and he was powerful enough, but I always thought if Vader actually wanted to take him on, he could.
We didn't see the lightning till the very end.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he didn't really
So
do anything.
to
Yeah,
me, it kind
true.
of it made sense the way he went out. It was because I never really saw him as that most powerful, but then
Yeah.
now seeing him come back, like you said, it kind of enhances. Like, oh well, part of it is because
Mm-hmm.
now it makes more sense as to why Vader was
Mm-hmm.
maybe more afraid.
Vader
of him
couldn't
than he
come
thought,
back.
because of that.
Vader
so
couldn't do it.
That's true.
yeah, so I think there's
Mhm.
it definitely enhances some of that, sure, but I don't think I look at that scene really that much differently, at least in a negative light.
I mean, it makes total sense. I mean, think about it. That came after Plagueis and all this stuff, and all this stuff about searching for a way to bring people back to life. This came out. It makes total sense that he would come back.
Yeah.
That was his
He
whole.
said
that was his
purpose.
entire purpose.
his pitch
It
in
just
his pitch
to-
to
it's- that's
his
the
pitch
most
to
logical
Anakin.
step.
Yeah,
you think Anakin's gonna get this pitch to come to the dark side and not challenge, or at least not actually like work on it?
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
his
obviously
pitch,
Palpatine's
yeah.
We thought he was
trying to
trying
do
to
that
fool
for-
him, but
Yeah.
no, he
No,
really
he
had
was-
it in this
No,
pocket.
we actually. It wasn't just hey,
It's-
you can come
it's-
here and I'll dangle this carrot. Yes, I can
It's,
dangle.
I
to
have
you
what
with the
you're
carrot.
asking for, but it's not quite what you think. It's not
It's-
bringing
And
back.
I'm not going to
Padme.
give it to you.
That's also what it
the way
is.
you expect.
It is.
It's a
I
twisted
think
truth. Is
we
what
can
it is.
we can discover the secret, but also you're not getting it.
no,
The secret's for me.
No.
Because
Yeah.
it's going to be more powerful.
Well, we know as soon as the master gives the secret, what is the
Then he
Yep.
kills the
they
master.
kill
Yeah.
him, so he can't.
It's a.
I wanted
like
to
it.
see-
It's a twisted truth. There's
Yeah.
truth in
Yeah.
it, but he was a manipulative
Yeah,
For
thing.
sure.
I think it's the perfect outcome.
I want to see
Yeah.
that the special edition scene. I don't know if you guys know this. The extra
Where
special edition
They
scene.
show him.
Oh
where
yeah.
he's talking and he says, "Your overconfidence is your weakness," and he says, "There are 10 more of me in the garage." And he's just like,
Then
he's
you
like,
hear
I'm
beep
not.
beep.
He's just like, I'm not worried about this. Like,
Right.
maybe who knows? He might
I can do
be.
this all
He
day.
might be one of those
Second.
things where he's
You just see this.
sitting there and he goes out and gives the best speech, the best. Lord Vader, and he goes and talks to him, and then all of a sudden he
It's a different
cracks his
guy.
knuckles, and a different guy in the back starts stretching. He jogs out there, and then he sits in
I'll
the
be
throne.
back in a moment.
And they're like,
Like a different guy.
the Praetorian guards, the Imperial guards.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that he's got extra pep in his step today? Like, and they have no idea that it's a turnstile. They're just
Yeah.
switching
Mole
out.
before?
Wait, weren't you just weren't you just right?
mole?
Has he always had a Scottish accent?
Didn't I just see you in the trash compactor? How'd you get here so quick?
It's like, you're taller today.
What are you doing over there? He's like, when did he talk like Shrek? When did this happen?
Oh,
How do we
man.
already know about Shrek? That won't come out for another 20
Wait a
years.
second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the extra special edition.
Any character that has not been like nothing's changed. Like,
Like if we've gotten more and we're like, we don't need more.
right? Anybody sticks out? Like
Um,
what we learned about Han Solo. Does that enhance, take away?
Oh, I think it
What do you think?
enhances.
Yeah?
I like
the fact that
his.
he's a terrible father that made him a better.
Oh no, sorry. I was actually gonna say.
He's talking
Just
about
kidding.
Solo.
I was
Oh,
actually saying
Solo.
Solo.
Yeah,
Because
that's true.
He's
I
a
was going
terrible
Solo.
father. Makes him that much better.
He's so good. He's
so
a
good.
scoundrel.
I'm so glad their marriage didn't work out.
He completely backtracked and for the better.
No, I was thinking of Solo.
Solo.
That his I
Yeah.
like seeing
That's good too.
the take the world by storm. There's
Yeah.
still that in later Han, but we find out
Right.
why he's hardened and why he's closed off and
Yeah.
why he is the way that he is.
Yeah.
Smug and yeah.
And he did
because-
shoot first.
He did shoot
And
first.
he did shoot first.
Woody,
Solo,
learned.
Solo. Ron Howard's like, we're gonna get this
we're
one
gonna
right.
fix this
Boom.
one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Even though George is one of my best friends, George, he is shooting first.
He is shooting first.
Yeah.
No, I think that
Um,
I think there's
We're
definitely
talking about Leia. What about Luke?
Oh, talked about Han.
Probably the
one
most
last
controversial.
Thing of Han.
Yeah,
One last
right.
thing of Han. If we said, are there any that you're like, oh, I didn't necessarily. It's hard to say I didn't need something. There's nothing I need from Star Wars, but finding out that a guard gave him the name Han
Right.
What's a family name? kid?
Solo. When I was watching theater, I
Solo.
thought, kind of just like thinking that he was always Han Solo.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's all right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those that I'm not saying it's a negative. If you ask something that it's an additional piece
if
of
you're
Imagining
Han, why
his
would you be like,
dad.
yeah, I'll roll with it?
His dad's name was Don.
Don Solo. Don Solo. Don and his twin brother Ron.
This is my son Han. Man, I couldn't have a regular name.
Gosh. Yeah, Don and Ron. These are
Couldn't
both
that be
real names. You give
David?
me Han.
This is my David.
No, you're
Solo.
right. That wasn't my favorite.
Hope
But-
Solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say Luke's probably the most controversial. just because of some people loved where the story went, and some people didn't, and it is what it is.
You're right. I mean, Nate's right. Some people love the way that Luke's story was told, and some people are wrong. So it's you're right though. It's that's what Nate said, right? That's what I heard. Is that what he said?
Did
Roll
I
the tape.
mention
That's
that
what I
Luke
heard.
was never my favorite? Ooh,
Ooh.
said it.
Shame.
He wasn't.
Shame.
Han was always my
Shame.
favorite.
Yeah.
Because when you see episode 4 first, Luke is kind
Or
of
fast. Watch
fast.
it. Fast.
Watch it 5 times fast.
Hey,
Luke,
what's that flash?
Luke was
What-
kind of a whiny kid, and
Yeah.
Han Solo was the cool
Yeah.
gunslinger. I always liked him
He
better.
was Han was epitome of cool
Yeah.
for sure.
I got one who didn't change, but for that reason, I love it.
Greedo?
No, Chewie.
All the new
Oh, yeah.
Chewie's just been.
Chewie's always been.
He's
loyal.
always had Han's
Chewie
back.
is-
Been loyal.
Yeah.
And he came from royalty.
He did.
Basically, he
Mhm.
came from. He was fought in the Clone Wars,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
side by side with Master Yoda.
They are doing the Chewie movie where everything's in
Yeah, it's-
Wookiees.
They they're doing. I heard it was based off of the overwhelming, positive reaction they got from the first 12 minutes of
Well, yeah.
12.
the first.
I wish it was only 12.
I know the first 25 minutes of
Let's do this a little
the
bit
holiday
longer.
special.
I
By
got
the way, oh yeah, go ahead. I was gonna say one person has made Star Wars better. It's Kathleen Kennedy.
Yes. Type in
what,
the comments
we wouldn't
below.
have
I was
Star
just
Wars.
reading. One of the
If you
topics we
disagree.
thought about today was I was just I like to throw out topics whether they're true or not just to see. And one of them was how Rogue One saved the Star Wars franchise. I don't know if it did, but in my looking to prove my theory
It
right,
did,
it's
but-
like, oh, I'm gonna think of this and then prove
Ask
it.
ChatGPT. How did Rogue One
Ooh, that's a great one.
save the Star Wars franchise? And then
It
see
turns
what
out
comes up with.
turns out that they brought in Tony Gilroy was brought in to rewrite.
For Gareth Edwards.
Kathleen
Yeah.
Kennedy was the one who brought him in to do the rewrite, which
Yep.
facilitated the whole Darth Vader scene,
Yeah.
all the stuff we
Which,
love about it. Which Kathy Kennedy said, "I'm not settling for this. I'm pulling the plug. We're going to reshoot. We're going to redo this to get it right. Without her, we don't get this. You don't know the thousands of ways that her
Yes.
fingerprints are all over these things, and then she backs off and lets
that was
everybody be the
one
star.
of the starts of the
Telling you.
infamous Star Wars hallway scenes. I
Mhm.
mean, now
Yeah.
we're getting them left and right.
Right, right.
But
Well-
then we got the Vader scene, which was just
Mhm.
iconic in Rogue One, and then
Yeah.
we're
Well,
getting Luke basically
the-
kind of mimicking that
hmm
in Mando, the hallway scene.
Hey, Uncle, to finish to add on to your point, for the folks at home, does anyone know, has Tony Gilroy done anything Star Wars related since? For all of you who love Andor,
Yeah.
he is the
There
one
you
who
go.
is solely responsible.
Yeah.
responsible. He is the showrunner.
He's the
writer.
only one who worked on
Only
it.
one.
He is every actor.
Does it all.
He is the
Writing.
celebrity apprentice. No,
Never made a deal with Kendrick Lamar.
Okay, you can't trust those little freaks. When Han says that, I was like, what was that line?
You can't trust those little freaks.
JJ.
One of the
What was that?
one of the things I like, not necessarily character related, but definitely adds to it. I would say enhances the old Star Wars.
Just get the little blanket.
The,
all
I'm loving
tucked in. And give us some
It's
coffee
nice.
or something.
it. Special effects.
You want to give
Yeah, that too. That well,
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
the special effects and how it's developed over time.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the special effects and stuff are way better now than the originals.
Yeah.
But in a sense, when you go back and watch them, rather than looking at the originals and thinking, "Man, this looks terrible compared to what they are now," which obviously with technology advancing,
Yeah.
it looks a lot better now. It actually makes me look back. I rewatch originals. I'm like, what George did in creating this was crazy because now I see what continuing to get better with the
Mhm.
technology, the volume, everything that they're doing. I'm like, he started this in motion with the idea of the lightsaber, the
Right.
like creating all that, basically, and creating
Everything new.
ILM like from scratch, like doing all of that. Now
Yeah.
I watch the originals, and it almost makes me appreciate it even more in the technology advancements that were done because of that, and then seeing how far we've come with the new stuff.
I know.
So
Here's a cool challenge for you. Those of you with 4K televisions or better with high frame rate. Here's the thing. We were watching this. We were watching episode 4
Yeah.
If you go on Disney Plus, of course, the bit rate on Disney Plus is a little lower than like a Blu-ray. But if you go on Disney Plus and you watch Episode 4, it is the best looking Star Wars movie of all of them. You're like, really? Yeah. Because remember, they went back and did that original restoration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they put that, it looks unbelievable.
Yeah.
So perfect.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was interesting because
I
that's
love-
enhancing
I
the
love-
old.
God,
I,
It
I
really
love
does.
it because we
Pull
went
so
and
much.
compared it. Like, this looks better than
Yeah.
Episode 9. Just
I really
the
do
detail
just love
of
it,
it,
too.
the
Like,
quality, the way that they went back and fixed it all, the coloring, everything. It looks
it makes you
unbelievable.
not
So
just
good.
admire what the originals are, but how far it's all come because of the vision that George had and starting it all.
Yeah.
So good. I love it. No, there's it's exciting because with every new thing that's coming out, especially where they are story-wise, kind of where things are headed. I mean, we have the Ahsoka show coming out.
Ah,
That is going to add.
Ah.
That's for sure going to add moments to. What's great is there's even
Old
more
Hayden
this-
Christensen.
Old Hayden Christensen's going to show up and he's going to say, "Hello, Anaheim. I love Star Wars." Star Wars. He's just always in Star Wars Celebration. And then for some reason, Tobey Maguire shows up and says my upper lip is kind of looking like a duck bill these days because it doesn't move too much. But
my back.
my back,
back
it's
is
stiff from all the
killing me.
lightsaber training, I guess.
lightsaber training, I guess.
It's just a random connection. It has nothing to do with Star Wars. But the Ahsoka show is now
And
going
yet.
to add even to Rebels, which is great because
Yes.
Rebels is the new.
Right.
But now we have
And-
even new to the
and-
group, just like we had Andor adding to Rogue One.
Right.
And I
Not to
love
mention
it.
Clone Wars, not to mention the
Yeah.
prequels, not to mention what Rebels did for Vader's character.
Yeah.
Too.
Right.
Oh, there's a headline.
The-
Rebels saved the Darth Vader character. Boom. 100,000
Oh,
likes.
100,000
it.
likes.
100,000 likes. I feel
next
us getting
episode.
rich.
No, but
Just kidding.
but the Ahsoka Vader fight
Yeah.
scene,
Oh, God.
the
Yeah.
breaking of the mask, completely
It's one of the great-
inspired what we saw in
That's right.
Kenobi.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean there was so much that came from it, but
I am what
just
remains.
that connection of knowing how much it just added so much depth to Vader and his character.
Yeah.
Not just the connection with Obi-Wan, but also having the Padawan of Ahsoka and her leaving. It
Mhm.
just was another thing that just piled up on his
Yeah.
sort of anger and disagreement with the council. And
Yeah. When I watched Return of the Jedi, I now know for a fact that Max Rebo did not die on the sail barge. I know that he will play.
true.
He will play later in Tatooine, and
Yep. Yep.
he'll see the short run of Boba Fett as Crime Lord.
That's
Very short run. Not because he couldn't do it; he didn't want to.
Right.
Which he could have maybe thought about if he wanted to.
Yeah.
At the time. But he did rid them of the Pikes. Pikes
Yeah.
were coming in as greedy
Max
little
Rebo
guys.
rid them of the Pikes.
Max Rebo.
Max Rebo is
Could you
is
imagine
a
him out
liberator.
He's a spy. He's,
He's
a
a,
secret.
he's a musician. He's classically
Always in
trained,
the shadows.
and he's a liberator.
He's a liberator.
Yeah, that's I want a dark Max Rebo working his way up. I want to see when he was just had a bucket on the street, a little
He's playing in his
he's
subway.
playing, and he's just going to the subway. That's what I wanna see. He's just
You're going places,
Oh,
buddy.
yeah, go on. It's
Why so blue?
so blue.
So good.
I love it. We got
Yeah.
any more, Nate?
I don't know. Let me check.
3PO.
Let me check.
3PO got some love
3PO
and
is
time.
good.
What
yeah.
last look,
Right?
sir, at my friends.
R2.
Probably don't recognize me, sir, with a red arm.
Right.
I thought 3PO had some of his best
He did.
moments
That's
in
a
it.
good
He
one.
did. I do think so.
You
Funny
didn't say
moments.
my name, sir, but I'm all right.
But I'm all right.
One of them is just bringing some of the animated characters to life.
Yeah.
Seeing them now once we're getting all the Rebels
Mhm.
characters live
Cad Bane.
action.
It's
And
going to be crazy, man.
yeah, it's cool. I mean, without
I saw someone ask the other day, do we think we're going to get Elias Zeb in the show or not really? And the reason why is they teased him and showed him, but it is like a fully, like, very high depth. It's like Josh Brolin as Thanos. Like it's like this is
The
a
technology they
yeah.
did.
tech,
Yeah.
animated, CGI character that might just be expensive to have him in a lot of the show.
I wouldn't
Um,
be surprised if we don't get
If he's
much,
not, maybe you
if
get a scene
any.
or two,
Yeah.
and he's separate.
Yeah,
Kind of.
I think so.
I think
He's
they
not shown any of the
I think
trailers.
they
I don't
maybe
think either.
intentionally
No.
showed that he is with this group.
yeah, so he
of
would.
the
Yeah,
New
so
Re-
you
of
could
the
explain
New
why he's
Republic.
not.
That makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah,
to kind of show that he is helping in this area of yeah.
Yeah.
good team
No,
up
I
with
agree with
Mando.
that.
I think he'll be in it
Agree.
because they're gonna want to. I feel like they're gonna want to show all the Rebels characters.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna want to show them all in this because it essentially is a continuation of Rebels.
On the
Makes
ghosts.
sense.
But so I think we'll see them maybe even all together, at least most of them maybe together. So I think we'll see Zeb encounter at least some of the other Rebels characters, but probably won't be in it a ton.
Man.
If I had to guess,
I mean,
but who knows?
the character
Can't
of
wait.
live action Thrawn is building on not only Rebels but also
Yeah.
early 1990s Thrawn that a lot of us
Enhancing
grew
the
up
old.
in.
Yeah.
Enhancing the old, even though it was like canon at the time, not really canon as much now. But then a lot of those ideas have been taken in. Obviously, the character
Yeah.
itself directly taken into the Filoni stuff. But yeah, I'm so.
Well,
I feel like we haven't really even talked
I
about
forgot-
Ahsoka a ton. That it's
Right.
right around the corner.
I forgot about
know.
Owen and Barut. Like
Oh, Owen and
Oh,
those
Barut.
characters,
man.
like the way that
Yeah.
they took on
Yeah.
what we saw of them. That was
That
Oh,
was
them taking
course they
them standing up to
yeah.
Reva.
Find Inquisitor.
Yeah.
The Inquisitors. That whole storyline.
yes. That definitely
mean-
added a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think about when I see the Lars household. When I see their place, I don't think Inquisitors with lightsabers have been here trying to.
That's right. They fought him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
they fought Inquisitor, but unfortunately, a stormtrooper got him in the end.
I know that's
But
got him good.
folks, the storm, come on, storm's coming off the coast. That's Cooper Trooper, come on, Mini Cooper, school car, James Bond, come on.
It's like a constant game of just connect the
it's just-
dots. Just let's go.
It's the 7 degrees of Joe Biden.
Oh.
It's like Kevin Bacon, except it's just you
I
gotta
got one.
connect.
I got one last one.
Come on. No, I shouldn't.
Oh.
Come on.
The at least as far as my list goes, enhancing the old, the parallels. Because what is a Star Wars Guys podcast without mentioning the Last Jedi? The parallels of
yeah.
Luke in hiding, Yoda, his master, in hiding,
Yeah.
the lessons to be learned, him
Mhm.
coming back, Yoda coming back, having that conversation. Arguably my favorite quote in all of Star Wars about
Greatest teacher failure.
greatest teacher failure
Failure
is.
is.
It's just the message wise is just so good. That all of that just enhances everything. Yoda's character and also I'm just coming back,
Yeah.
but also just Luke and the overall theme of what Star Wars and what George's vision for Star Wars was, and that there's themes throughout Star Wars, but the overarching thing has always been to provide hope.
Mm-hmm.
And that, and in a nutshell, is the essence of the Star Wars message. Is that scene in that movie. So, seeing that with the quotes, between Yoda, Luke, the parallels of them in hiding, Luke basically doing what he saw his master do,
Mm-hmm.
and then only to find out it was wrong later and learn another lesson from him. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, we could do, and we have, I believe, a full podcast on that.
We have.
Let's do it
Because
again.
Why we love The
let's
Last
do it
Jedi.
now.
But yes, I would say
I
that absolutely enhances
Love
the
it.
connection
I love it
between
too.
those two, but also
Mhm.
just the Star Wars message. What Star Wars
Well,
is
the
about.
message of, the scene of Vader, of Luke looking at his hand in holding the lightsaber, about to strike down Vader.
Yeah.
When Vader's hand's missing and Luke's about to strike him down, and you hear that, and then he throws it, and I'll never turn to the dark side. That whole thing,
Yeah.
and the way it's even shot, like I think so many.
Mhm.
I get frustrated a little bit when I feel like not that people have to agree with me on Star Wars. Have your own opinions for sure. Just make sure they're right.
He says that as
No, I'm just
earlier. He says you either
Having-
love The Last Jedi, those who love The Last Jedi, and those who are wrong.
Right. Having said that,
Having said that,
Having said
but
that,
let's argue
Ray,
about the
but-
facts.
Yeah,
Let's
well,
don't get the facts wrong.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
I get frustrated is that
Uh,
it's if we see the same thing and we just interpret differently, that's great.
yeah.
But people acting like there is no basis, it's unequivocally this has never been set up. Filoni is the one I believe who even says that Lucas said the same thing, that in that moment you are supposed to feel, and it is real, that Luke could turn to the dark side in that moment.
Yeah.
Filoni says that. Filoni said in that roundtable that in that moment Luke can and is about to turn to the dark side.
Yes.
That is the final moment. The Emperor is laughing like a second too early because it kind
Yeah.
of almost snaps him out of it. But like that is the moment where the Emperor's like, I've got
won.
you. You are doing exactly what your father did, except now you are the better model. That now is going to take him and replace him and get him out. And now I've finally got my fully armed apprentice that I need. And
Pun
it's in that moment
intended.
that he stopped.
pun intended.
Although he's not
Fully
fully
armed.
hand, he's fully
Right.
armed.
Fully
He's got his
armed.
arms. But that
Yeah.
hands. Some of the Skywalkers in their hands. But
They keep losing.
in that
I know.
in that moment, it is supposed to feel like that. So when you get people who I struggle when someone will say like, the Luke Skywalker that we saw in the original trilogy would never do that, and a lot of people will go to this extreme of saying like he would never thinking about murdering his nephew. Okay, if you watch the scene, one I contest with the idea that Luke he didn't sit down with a bunch of notes and go pros and cons of murdering my nephew. That's not what happened. He didn't sit down and think, I don't know, should I do it? Should I not? It was he's looking into his mind, he's searching with the Force, and he sees horror, destruction, repeating of the past, death, this, maybe even Han dying, like all these things, boom, 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 and then that causes him, like out of fear, he ignites his saber, and he's sitting there, and before it's even too late, it says it passed like a shadow, boom, and he looks and he's scared, and he's looking up at him, and then he realizes, oh no, he thinks I'm gonna do, I'm not, and it's like it's like I was scared, I'm not doing this. That's the Ben telling the story.
That's
Is
the
that
Ben
he
vision.
says
Right.
Ben's doing this, and then the real telling of the story is somewhere in between. He did ignite it because he was scared, and then he felt shame about it immediately, and then it was him having the same fear he had when he tried to kill his own father because he threatened his sister. So
Yeah.
it's to say he would never do that. He did try to kill. If you think he wouldn't kill his nephew, he did try to kill his own father.
Well, he
Like,
was
so-
instructed to
yeah,
by his
and
master.
his master literally
His
said, "Well, if you
He
don't,
wasn't sure.
Then,
Arguably,
By
that
both
was Obi-Wan.
masters.
you could argue.
Obi-Wan
It's
and
just-
Yoda.
yeah,
You could
it's just one of those
argue
things.
he would have solved a lot of problems if he killed Ben.
And now I will
So
say,
he would have saved billions and billions
Now,
of people.
I
He would have
will
turned to the
say-
dark side.
Imagine Hitler but
That's
blowing
true.
up
Luke would be a Sith.
Now,
20
I will say,
planets.
Yeah.
for
Right.
anyone
He
who
would have
wants to
saved
right.
at
take
least
the
5
argument,
planets.
Yeah.
yeah,
Billions of people.
for anyone who wants to take the argument, and I do say this is fair to play devil's advocate, that Luke
Can I play?
having
I want
gone
to play
through-
devil.
Okay, you can play
I'll
devil.
play advocate.
Okay, devil advocate.
Go ahead.
Um,
Where's my box?
Yeah, it's oh
Soap.
gosh, I need to pick that soap box off of my shoe, scrape it off. A tiny little soap, like nice little hotel soaps is what I'm using. But to play devil's advocate, I do understand, and there's some truth to the fact that maybe yes, Luke has that moment in Return of the Jedi, so maybe it would be less likely, or you feel like he
Yeah.
would have learned from that his
Sure.
father, even Darth Vader, could come back.
I beg to differ.
That maybe he wouldn't lose hope that his saying is not going to go the way you think. Although it is true that Luke was never going to be able to turn him back. It was only that Rey was going to be able to
Yeah.
to do it. Just like Obi-Wan was never going to be able to get Anakin back.
And I think it's
It
even
was
more than
Luke.
that. I think it
Um,
was
But so I do understand that
Han
maybe
and
someone can
Leia.
say that, but differ.
Yeah.
I would
beg.
argue it was Luke's naivete that caused him to not kill Vader. He was naive enough to think that he could turn him. He was right. He was naive, but he was right
But he was actually
by sparing him. That was naive. I think that was naive.
and it was actually
Vader's not going to turn. But
it
he
was
was
not
right.
his pleading
Yeah.
with him that
But he was
did
right.
it until
Right.
the Emperor then started hurting Luke.
Luke.
Right.
And it wasn't like he said, "Come on, Father." And it's too late for me. It's too late for me.
It is
son. Like,
too late.
Right.
and so he wasn't listening to it. It was only the moments of when, okay, now Vader is watching his son die,
yeah.
and that
Am
it's
I
actually
going
the
to let this
Emperor.
happen?
It's his sacrifice.
That the Emperor actually, if the Emperor had left Luke alone and was like, "Guards, take him," I don't think Vader would have done anything.
No.
Not
No.
yet, at least.
Nope.
It was the moment when he actually saw him dying, and then he snapped out that
So
a little bit
be
of good in him.
I think
Yep.
Luke, when he was standing, I think he was more in tune with the Force. I think he had a better understanding of seeing future events, tapping into what might be coming, and he saw the full evil of what was coming
Yeah.
and reacted. It
True.
could even be that what he was seeing was so mixed in with reality that it seemed real at the moment.
Yeah, like it's like
This is Wait, no, this is.
I
No,
saw a
that's
great,
true.
Wait,
I heard
great
someone
example
saying
of
that
that, saying
happening.
that his ignition of the lightsaber is actually a reaction to the visions he's seeing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He's
like
seeing
that
this
he's
happen,
in
and
the
he's
reality.
in the moment seeing
trying to
this,
defend himself.
and he's igniting
Right.
the saber, thinking, "I can't let this happen." And then he ignites the saber.
But he's
he
actually
looks
in this
down
moment.
and he sees his nephew, and then thinks, "No."
realizes that's him.
So it was actually him
Yeah.
looking down at Ben,
yeah.
because if you watch it, he's looking at his saber.
Mm-hmm.
So he's having these visions. He's looking at his saber. He ignites the saber out of
Seeing
reaction
the
of
vision.
seeing the
Yeah.
visions. But then when he looks at his nephew, he thinks, "No, Ben. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not towards you
Right.
in a sense. It's towards what scared me." In the
Yeah, it
visions
was
that I
something
saw."
else. Mm.
I
I
don't
love
know.
it. This is one of the reasons
Last
why
Jedi's great.
Last Jedi is one of my favorite Star Wars.
You got to go
movies.
deeper. You can't
That's
watch
the thing
it
is,
up here.
I
You got to
love
get in.
that we
You
are
got to,
still
which is not
having
the
discussions.
typical Star Wars movie.
Nah.
I love
to
that
be
we're
honest.
having
It's not a pod race.
discussions now 6 years later about even what does that scene even mean?
Mhm.
Why did he ignite it? Why did those are the discussions I love having about it, is because it is so deep. We've talked about it. As much as I love all the Star Wars movies, and even there's some original Star Wars movies that, if you ask me right now, that I might rank ahead of The Last Jedi. To me, The Last Jedi is the deepest Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
As far as
Oh yeah.
what it's trying to make you think about, what is in each scene, what is George even says he's trying to be simple with the first ones. Like there
Yeah.
are big themes and but it's supposed
Yeah,
to
it's
be
supposed to be a
recognizable
quick
themes,
action.
motifs, stuff
Yeah.
that you
Mhm.
recognize, but in a different dressing, in a
Different world,
in this
yeah.
space western type of a thing, where this is like big philosophy. Again, now as a parent too, having this, the parent to child relationship, or the teacher to the master to the student relationship, the burden of the overcoming failure stuff. Obviously, as someone who's my job is in athletics, and all of us have played sports at different age groups. One of the biggest things you learn in sports, and why I think sports, whether you want to play sports or not, one of the things I think is one of the most valuable is learning that I don't know a single athlete, including Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, the greatest athletes of all time, Tiger Woods, who don't lose more than they win.
Yeah.
And even the ones who are the best, Tiger Woods loses way more, even in his prime,
Right.
way more than he actually wins
Yeah.
as far as total tournaments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're so good because the losing does.
And what do you learn from
What do you
that?
respond? What do you learn from it?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's right.
I think it was Kobe who said he was motivated way more, not by the feeling of winning, not by the jubilation of a win, and not like, oh, I want to just chase that. It's the way he felt when he lost. Of I don't want to experience that again. So if I'm going to lose, I'm not going to lose like that, because I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to. And
Yeah.
again, if I lose because I tried something different, or I took a shot and
Yeah.
it doesn't work out,
Yep.
we can live with it. But
Right.
I love that as far as it relates to Star Wars, of the greatest teacher failure is. And so
Mhm.
I love seeing Luke, who we thought of this kind of, I wouldn't say perfect character back then, but especially for my generation, he was like, oh, Luke Skywalker was he was the hero that I grew up with, because
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he is the ultimate hero. And even though he wasn't perfect then, seeing him have his struggles kind of helps you feel good. A little not like, oh, I feel good because other people are down, but when we're
That's why I
imperfect
think it's the
humans
best
who go
message.
through ups and downs.
That's why
and
I think
stuff
it's
like
the
that,
best
that it feel
message.
like, oh, even the hero I looked up to has their moments,
Yeah.
their really low moments, and he does the most heroic thing ever, and sparks new hope in the galaxy
Right.
one final time.
Yeah.
So Rey can take the torch, and I
Mhm.
love that more than him being a video game character who's reached immortal status, who Oh.
Call
all
on
right,
Luke
you want
to
me to
save the day.
destroy the first
Exactly.
order? All right, let me pull all the scars. Let me throw
Right.
a moon. Let me kill him the same way Chewbacca died.
Throw a moon.
Let's throw a moon and wigs.
And
Yeah.
moons.
For the death of Chewbacca, you check one of our previous episodes if you
Yeah.
know. But I love it. Last Jedi, love it.
Love
Yeah,
it.
I definitely think there's
Yeah.
Connections,
stuff
how new Star Wars enhances the old.
There you have it.
It just does. Doesn't mean every
It
moment
just
plays perfectly.
Just
Doesn't mean
does it.
every moment is perfect.
That doesn't mean
because
every
No.
moment's perfect. Doesn't
There's a
mean
reason
everything
why-
lines up perfectly.
Why even
but
in the original trilogy, yeah, it is weird that Leia says she always knew. George kind of didn't have the best writing on that. Somehow I always knew. Flashback to
No, you didn't.
the previous
an
episode and they're
infant.
kissing.
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
If you already knew,
You always
Luke's like,
knew?
I didn't know.
Interesting.
I didn't know.
What'd you kiss me for?
What did you kiss me for?
Huh?
So like example that would be
yeah,
There's the funny little lines of we made the joke about Palpatine going like, I'm not afraid. I've got 10 of me in the garage.
Right.
Or years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars. Also, you and I spent a nice weekend vacation together,
Right.
running away from Flea. There's always those moments that you feel like, they don't. It's what is. It doesn't have to have every single puzzle piece fit perfectly because they're told in different times by different people. It's what is the story trying to tell you?
Yeah, don't
What's
go
the
to-
overarching.
Don't watch
Yeah.
the movie with a checklist.
No.
It's not bingo.
Don't think
Oh,
it was
they got
99 out of
that one.
100.
Ooh, I got
this
that
is
one.
a bad movie
Yeah.
because that
Right.
one edge doesn't fit perfectly.
No, I definitely think,
What's the story make you feel?
there's so many things that enhance it, and I get it. There's moments that maybe you look at now differently in a way that maybe you didn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, there's much more from what I've seen and what I gather from the new Star Wars stuff that enhances the old stories, and I think that's what they're trying to do. We're starting to see some different directions with Acolyte and some
Yeah.
High Republic stuff,
Right.
but when they do tie in these stories like Tales of the Jedi, Rogue One, Andor, it's definitely with the intention of enhancing these characters,
Yeah.
filling in those gaps.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
No, I love it. Obviously, we could pull out like any one of these and do like deep dives on
Yeah.
all of it.
For
But
sure.
wanted to go through and rattle off some of these things that stood out to us. And if there's more that you guys think of that you know as a character or a moment or special effects, whatever it may be, technology, that you think the new Star Wars has done well in enhancing what we have got in the originals, the prequels, whatever. Let us know. Drop it in the comments, and if there's any of these that we did discuss that are your favorites, or you want us to touch on more, or you've got your own opinions on, let us know those too. We love to hear from you guys. You can always reach out to us directly on Instagram at Star Wars Guys Pod, and also here on YouTube live in the chat, or drop it in the comments if you're watching this back. Anything else?
Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching. Yeah, shout out again to Sackcloth and Ashes and
Yeah, very sweet. Love it.
Legion Sabers for the gifts for this great Star Wars blanket. I will be using all the time. All
I've
the
been
time.
sta- I've
Some
been just
lightsabers
almost-
coming on the
Whatever
way.
we
Legion
hear.
Sabers, thank you.
I've been wishing I was wearing that blanket the whole time. Not that I'm cold. It's just like, oh, it's
we always
comfy.
joke about wearing
looks
pants
comfy.
because the camera angles and stuff.
It's true.
Today, the first time, I intentionally thought about, I'll put the pants on. No, I won't. Why? Got the blanket.
He just said he has
Are
no
you-
pants
that's what I
on.
heard.
I got
He has no
shorts
pants
on.
Oh, okay. Prove it.
Prove
Okay.
it.
Prove it.
Prove it.
Paywall.
Prove it.
Paywall.
Paywall. Stick around for the post podcast.
Find
Subscribe
out
to the
what's under the
Patreon.
blanket behind the podcast.
behind the podcast.
Behind the blanket.
But yeah, if you made it this far, what are you doing? No, thanks for tuning in.
What are you doing?
Hit the notification bell, subscribe if you haven't already, and smash the like button
Oh.
this time. Smash the like button.
Smash.
Do it.
And spread the word.
Smash.
We love having you guys tune in. We appreciate it. Thank you. And as always, may the Force be with you.
The Star Wars guys were the guardians of peace and justice in the YouTube verse before the dark times.
Before they got rich. No, no.
Before the clickbait.
Before the clickbaity titles. Tune into the next video.
True.
Oh, do we have a title?
Ooh.
I
We
didn't think of a
don't.
title.
We
The
prepared
Last
10
Jedi,
minutes
The
before.
best Jedi.
Folks, James
Bond,
James Bond, Jason Bourne.
I never made a deal with Ganja Club. That I can promise you. You can't trust those little freaks. That's what they are. They're totally little. Probably the tiniest freaks we've ever seen.
You've seen some tiny freaks.
I know a lot of tiny freaks. You look
Folks.
you look at these freaks. That I know.
These are the smallest freaks you ever seen. Come on. Folks, this guy's got more tiny freaks in the circus. Come on.